What's going on, everybody? Josh Weibman here with the Market Makers Podcast, here with my partner Ian Walsh, and our guest today is Josh Shope from Team Shope of Coldwell Banker. Josh, thanks for joining us today. How you doing, man?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure. Really a pleasure. We're here in the springtime. You know, we got the weather changing. It's a beautiful day out there. Josh, you're in Hershey, PA. Is
Yeah,
that right?
Hershey,
Yeah.
PA is where our home office is. Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I grew up in Hershey, so you know it's I know the market, and then I live right next door in Palmyra. But yeah, I always like to start these things by just kind of starting with how you got into real estate. I know your story is kind of cool, coming from kind of a builder's background. Do you mind just kind of introduce us to you and what you've been doing, and we'll go from there.
Yep. So, as you said, I come from a construction background. My father had a construction company. My brother-in-law has actually taken it over here in the last, I think it's 5 years now that my dad has retired out. I knew 18 years ago that the construction world itself was not for me. Not, I enjoyed parts of the physical labor, but I wasn't very skilled in some of it. So I was just like, this isn't for me. And I started to explore getting into real estate. I actually talked to my old broker's wife, just little bit about real estate. She talked to me probably for like 45 minutes and super encouraging. Jumped into getting my license and classes, and 18 years later, here I am, and yeah, still selling. So
That's awesome. So we're the kind of the focus, I would say, of this show more than anything else is kind of monitoring what's happening in the real estate market.
Mhm.
We've it's kind of funny because a year ago we're seeing interest rates rise. There's I don't know so much panic, but by the time we got to August, a lot of retraction from the market and certainly from December. And from other people that we've talked to over the last couple of weeks, it seems like now we're entering kind of a new phase of this, I don't know, recovery or mess or what.
Right.
What are you seeing in the Hershey market and in Central PA in general?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting market. I mean, being 18 years in this business, I got to go through '08, 9, and 10, good, bad, and indifferent. Actually, '08 was my one of my best years ever, believe it or not. Some of it was I was in because of my background, I was in new construction, so that did help and that carried over. But this market's definitely interesting. I think a lot of it has to do with this consumer sentiment. Like, do they trust things? There's a lot of untrust on easy.
Yep.
I remember that even from years past, like, oh, we're going to wait until something happens.
Right.
A lot of times it's months. None of us probably predicted that the interest rates were going to go up as quickly as they did,
Hmm.
either. And a lot of people probably shoot themselves in the foot because of it. So, that's one of those things. It has definitely changed over the last couple of months, even last couple of weeks. The fall was soft. Even spring, honestly, was soft. I oftentimes tell people March 1st is when the spring market starts. And then I said this year, April 1st, the spring market's going to start. And finally in May, it seems like it actually has picked up. And I think there's so many different pieces to that puzzle. I mean, a lot of it has to do and surrounded just not enough homes to sell.
Yeah.
The media out there likes to pick up on um, home sales are down, but they don't really explain why home sales are down. It's not because buyers are out and left the market. That's far from the case. If anything, it's really just because there's nothing to sell, or nothing to purchase as a buyer. And so, that's really one of those things. Something that I oftentimes look at, and some of it's probably my background, both in coming from the construction world, doing a lot of new home sales the first several years of business, is what's happening in the new construction world. What are they feeling? How do they feel about the marketplace? Are they investing? Or are they
Hmm.
pulling back and just hedging funds? I think there's probably a little bit of that going on. I know some builders I've talked to, they had some record months just within the last couple of months. That's sure sell signs of health
Hmm.
there. Is it will it last? How is it? ups and downs. They had a horrible one month and maybe picks up the next month. Those are the types of things we don't always know and can see. But
Yeah.
definitely there's buyers out there. I mean, I was one of 18 offers over the weekend. There was another one of 26.
Yeah.
We're still having that out there.
Well, do you think that's mainly inventory? I know for a while inventory was an issue, but I think people were, after being stuck inside after, with COVID, they looked around and said, I don't want to live like this anymore. We're going to move. And interest rates were so low that, even if we would have tripled inventory, I think we would have still been in a situation with multiple offers. Do you think that, well, actually, you said a lot in that last segment. So let's start with the new home builders, because I
Yeah.
think that's a big part. For the new home, what are you seeing from them? You're saying some of them had great months, and do you think that's the price point, or do you think, like, I find that, I mean, I think that what Ian and I have been seeing, especially from the loan side, is that we've kind of been bombarded with a lot of lower priced properties at very big discounts that we wouldn't have seen a year or two ago. There was a lot more investment in these type of areas, but it's almost like things have shifted a little bit. And with new construction being as expensive as it is, you can't really enter that low income market real easily at this point.
Right. I mean, new construction price points it's got to at least be in this area at an all-time high for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so which I find interesting with the interest rates being higher and them selling as many new construction homes as they are. It says something. I think there's higher wage earners have a little bit more trust in the marketplace. I think other people are just more concerned. Some of what you're seeing too. I work with a decent amount of investors, and at times they're getting deals, that a year ago we didn't see. Other
yeah.
times we're still competing,
Right.
at times as well. And so it's definitely a interesting marketplace, and I like to try and like always forecast and predict, but this market it's hard. It's even probably harder. Interest rates are went up here I think overnight again, and I'm hearing numbers close to 7% again, where we were starting to
Yep.
head the other direction. And I think the 10-year bond went up again, and that's why. But
Well, I mean, we were at close, as low as like just under 5.5%. What, a month ago, month and a half ago, something like that.
yeah,
The lack of consistency, I feel like, is one of the major issues here. Is like, no, you can't predict.
Do you
right.
think so we're at a point right now where there's something on the table that could potentially affect the financial industry again, which is the debt ceiling thing? There's always something that's just in a timely fashion shows up every quarter to
Right.
affect the markets, right? Do you have any thoughts on like let's say we don't meet the debt ceiling, or do we need to I just heard another thing that was talking about going out and putting a whole lot of pressure on small to mid-sized companies tax-wise after we printed all that money back in 2020. So do you think any of those are going to have, I know you can't predict, but any gut feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree it has effects on things. I mean, from my understanding, and there's some great stuff out there that's not normal media. I think I'm going to say his name, Gary Habib. He's great. He looks at a lot of the analytics of things, and even like looking back over, I think the last 60 years. I highly recommend listening to his stuff. But with that said, or to answer your question, there definitely is side effects. I think the banks' interest rates are actually not normally margined. I think they are hedging that the federal government's going to do something um, again that's going to affect them financially, and I think they're hedging the interest rates up. Because I think the interest rates jumped on them so fast in the way that they.
You think they're going to come back down? You're saying you think the government's going to do something to make them come back down?
Correct. Eventually. I look. Anytime we get into a political year, and I think the year has gone to 18 months, there's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think even on that as well. We saw it in 2016. I saw it again in leading into the.
So you think we're going to open the printing press again? You think we got enough room in
I
there to
hope
do
not.
that?
I hope not. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be. I mean, I don't think it's good. I mean,
No.
that's part of the problem. I personally believe that's part of the problem. Interest rates were too low for too long. I was saying back in August of, what was it? It would have been August of 21. Why is the interest rate so low? The demand is too high. Why is the interest rate so low? And it took them a whole 6 to 8 months later until they're like, oh, the interest rates are too low. Let's put them up. But then they didn't do gradual. Usually it's a gradual thing to slow down the market a little bit. Let's let the markets react and change. But it just band-aids off, right? And open things wide open. And so I think they're going to let the pendulum swing too far, because that's what they do, right?
Right.
They adjust, and hopefully they get it adjusted back right. I don't foresee the market honestly changing too much though anytime soon, because this consumer demand is just so high. Even with interest rates up, we still were seeing multiple offer situations.
What do you think drives that demand?
I mean, just lack of housing. Like, beyond that, I mean,
yeah, why? So we have the shortage of housing because everybody bought above their means, right? But then, do you still have, like, I always wonder about this. Are you guys still seeing like a COVID exodus? Like, are you seeing like the work from home crews, or the stuff that you guys are selling? Are you still seeing a lot of those people trying to get into areas they couldn't live before because pre-COVID that wasn't a possibility?
So a lot of the businesses that I'm talking to and persons that work for area businesses, it's the opposite. A lot of the businesses are starting to make people come back into the office. Productivity has gone down.
Yep.
Okay.
And so they're starting to roll them back in. Hershey Foods, the state brought, like, literally almost overnight, like, oh, you guys have to work from office.
Right.
Which is crazy, because a lot of them were hired under the premise of you can work from home. And
okay. Yeah.
And some of them don't live locally. And so we're starting to see that it's going to change the whole job market again. Here we go again.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you start to do that, it's going to make people have to go again, and then there's no housing to put them in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. One of the things, and I know you guys deal with this a lot, and here, one of the things that we've seen more this year than probably any other year is off-market, what we call off-market deals, the wholesalers. And I know you guys deal a little bit with that on that side of things, but we look at it from the real estate agent side of things. It has affected our market. York County, neighboring county here, in 1 month, there was over 100 of them that were wholesale sales. And so that's huge, because I think it was like 300 sales that month. So the marketplace was wholesale.
In Yorktown. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say the tricky part with wholesaling. So back in like 2008, like Josh and I, we had started a wholesaling company, and back then, like, not many people were wholesaling. Like we were the biggest in Philadelphia pretty quickly, and then it wasn't until we got out of wholesaling that maybe like 10 years later, all the wholesalers popped up. The internet it was very easy on the internet to get information. Yep. People started realizing there's like real margins in wholesaling. And then people took it to levels that him and I like never reached back then. And I think what people realize in wholesaling is that, like, you could be an agent and get your 3%, aside and whatever. And being an agent in wholesaling works on retail, right? You can't really wholesale retail. You're not going to walk like a family through a house that you wholesale. But all the investment properties, you go, I can make $3 to $5 grand on this, or I can make 20 to 30 grand on this. No brainer, right? And then people get good. So when there's money, there's a lot of money in something. It's going to attract people. It's going to attract talent. And it's going to attract individuals that can pull that off. And I know we know some really big wholesalers now. So I don't think that that's going to slow down. I think you're going to see at some point, you're going to see just all the investment properties are just going to roll through wholesalers, and you're going to find this is my crystal ball prediction. You're going to find that they are going to try to I know they tried twice to get their hands. The government tried to get their hands on wholesalers in terms of like jamming that up. PAR tried to get their hands in there. They're going to try to find ways just to curtail it due to exactly what you're talking about right now. I didn't realize it was at that level right now. So
York County has one of the biggest wholesalers in the entire country. Eric Brewer is a major player down there with honest home buyers. And he's so good at what he does that every couple years his entire staff leaves and he hires new people and they're still that good. And like the staff leaves to start their own company. He trains them so well. Like it's just that kind of thing is really difficult. But I think that, we saw this, Ian. The major difference in wholesaling is that the cost of entry and the commitment in time up front, you don't have to find somebody to train you to be an agent and to follow all the rules and, jump through all those hoops. And so sometimes it attracts more of a nefarious element, and like it's certainly not all the times, right? But
it can. But that individual doesn't usually elevate. The ones that elevate tend to be good businessmen or women that also put the pieces together and go, holy margins. They go, what? I can make like $100,000 on a deal, and they see the money, they understand the money, they understand the business, and then like we've got some huge wholesalers in the Philadelphia area or the Eastern Pennsylvania area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think to your point there, Ian, as well, PAR is well aware of what's happening, and they're trying to find ways to crack down. And it's not like if they're true wholesalers and doing it above par, I think they're above par. They are. I think you're okay with it. There's times that, like, don't look over here at how much money I'm going to make, and they're not honest and upfront of what's happening. They want like 2 separate settlements at times and stuff like that. But no extra closing cost fees, and and that's what PAR. That's what the taxes. Come on, they want the transfer tax.
Oh yeah.
Yep. They want some of those other fees that are collected. That's what a lot of them has to do with, and also they are trying to protect some of the sellers and the processes as well.
And ultimately, I think some of the best agents are actually some of the best wholesalers as well.
Mm-hmm.
You see this a lot where, you touched on a couple of the symptoms, but I think that, organizations like PAR, they obviously want to protect their members, but they're also kind of a consumer advocacy group as well. They're protecting consumers. If you're acting in a way that is, straightforward and honest with a seller, and you let them know that you're an investor and like you might buy it or you might assign it to one of your other clients or something like that, it changes the dynamic of the agreement. And it's like, as long as everybody knows what's going on, that's an easy situation to navigate through. And it's probably, a lot of times it can be the best situation. But on the flip side, if you don't have that transparency and like that understanding, and like the deal just falls apart and the cell phone gets turned off, and now, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, I thought we were closing tomorrow, and the guy's like, oh no, sorry, something happened. You know what I mean? It gets a little shady pretty quick.
Yeah, it can get shady.
But
well, that's so we think. So I guess we got some stuff on deck now with the economy, between the what we were just talking about, and you're the first person to predict that you see, maybe not short term, but the end goal is to get these rates back down. So you think we've really capped out on the top level of rates right now. So that's interesting. You're the first person on the show to really either bring it up. I don't think we've really touched on it so much, really thought about it other than rates are up. So we'll what we'll do in 6 months, we're trying to just have people on every 6 months just to see it, because the market's moving right now. It'll be boring. This conference show will be extra boring when like the market stops moving and everybody's gonna be like, I don't want to. But right now, when the market moves, every show we do, there's something new. It's interesting, right? So
I actually was so on that point, I was talking to a financial advisor friend of mine this weekend, and we were talking about interest rates specifically. He told me, he said the financial markets have already priced in a decrease in interest rates by December. That's already priced into
which is what Josh is saying, market. Essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that it's interesting. Hearing the same thing in a very short period of time for the first time. It's cool.
Well, I think it's an interesting take. I'd like to we'll revisit that one in 6 months. And Josh Wyman, would you like to do the outro with for Josh, and just make sure everybody knows how to contact him if they want to get in touch with him, maybe on the bottom and so forth? Absolutely.
So Josh's contact information has been streaming around across the bottom. You can reach out to him on his cell phone at 717-823-1313, or visit his team at teamshope.com. Anything else you want to add for anybody that's everybody watching out there?
No, I'd love to have a conversation with anyone out there. We're very relationship driven. That's how our business is built. Most of our business is actually past clients referring us to friends and family, and we believe that's the best way to do business because it shows that we actually care, and we try and provide a good service to our clients there. So yeah, I'd love to reach out. We work with investors. We work on the commercial side some as well. Definitely residential, new construction. It's, the whole gamut of things we do. And I say we, it's not just me. I have a team behind me as well. So
that's awesome.
Thanks guys for having this conversation. I appreciate being a part of it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you being on. And anybody watching, if you're looking for a investment loan, give us a call. We can underwrite in just a few hours and get you approved on the same day and fund in as little as 24 hours. All right, guys, till next time, we'll be back here tomorrow. Join us at 12:30. You guys have a great day. Till then, Josh, thanks a lot.
Yep, you're
All right,
welcome.
Josh. All right, take care.